You know how we lawyers love our secret codes, right? I can tell any lawyer in the country to go to this page of this book with this secret code. Want to learn it? I'm Brian, I'm a lawyer, I teach civics, because this is your law too, and you should know how to use it. So share this video, comment, like it, repost, and get it out there, because civics videos are not that popular, and if you don't share them, nobody will watch them. But if you keep watching them, I'll keep making them. Let's do this. This book is called The Corpus Juris Secundum. You may notice that in the middle of my secret code are the letters CJS, and it just so happens that the Corpus Juris Secundum is a very popular encyclopedia of law that most lawyers know. So when they see CJS, they know that I'm talking about the Corpus Juris Secundum. But what about the numbers, and what is this weird squiggly line? Well, for those of you who don't know, this weird squiggly line is a symbol that means section. And sometimes lawyers like to be complicated. Instead of using page numbers, they use sections. And so this tells you section number 357 instead of page number 919, which is the same thing. But that's not really the exciting part of this. See, what you really need to know is that the abbreviation for the title is here in the middle. That this over here tells you where to go in the book, and that tells you which book to pick up in the whole series of books. Now, if you couldn't tell, this was part of a big set of books. There were a ton of them. The Corpus Juris Secundum is massive. This is book number 22. And so this 22 here tells you to walk down the line of books, find book number 22, and pull it off the shelf. But this layout of legal citations is standardized. It's the same every time. And so I'm going to show you how to use it, and I'm going to bring a little bit of life to those weird background books you always see on legal procedure. Now this right here is a little clipping out of a Supreme Court case called Americans for Prosperity. Not really the point. The point is that you can see here where whoever wrote this opinion wanted to cite a different case in their opinion. And when they cited the case, this is what they wrote. Cation v. Board of Regents of University of State of New York, 385 U.S. 589, 604, 87, all of these numbers and letters, which I will now write down so we don't have to go through them. Okay, this is everything that thing said, all lined up. But what it's actually telling us is three different things, because you see, that case was printed in three different places. Supreme Court cases usually are. Now, the one thing you know from our Corpus Juris Secundum example is that CJS was the abbreviation for Corpus Juris Secundum, and it was in the middle of the citation. Well, the same thing's going to be true for these. What that tells us is when you see an abbreviation, that's going to be the title of the book. So let's circle those. Now we know where our three book titles are. I'm also going to give away a hint and tell you that the number before the book title is always the volume, and that's the only number before the book title. So the number before is going to be the beginning of each of these citations. Let's underline those. So knowing where each of our citations begin, we can also tell where they end. So we're going to block off the entire citations from beginning to end. Okay, there we go. We got three citations. Now I'm going to list them down so we can see them a little easier. Real quick, I want to show you something called the Supreme Court Reporter. You've seen these books in the background of Law & Order, any legal procedural. They always put them in the background because they make good set dressing. There's a company called Westlaw that publishes the Supreme Court Reporter, and the Supreme Court Reporter is every Supreme Court case. And you can see, there's the title, Supreme Court Reporter. That right there is the volume number, 113 in that case B. That right there, that little key, that's West's logo. I'm going to now show you how to find a court case in one of these books. And now you will recognize what all of these numbers on these books mean. All right, so I've written these all out. See, it turns out that law is big money, and so lots of different people print these separate books with Supreme Court cases in them. West is one of them, but LexisNexis prints their own version, and the U.S. government prints a version as well. The U.S. government's version is just called U.S. Reporter. Westlaw's is called Supreme Court Reporter. Lexis is called the Lawyer's Edition. And because it's a Supreme Court case and it's so important, it gets printed in all three of these. So in order to make it easy for you to find, when you cite one of these cases, you usually give them all three of the big ones so people can find it wherever they are. Now these days it's less of a big deal to give the book citations because everybody has computers, but we have this anyway. This is going to be the volume number of that book, that little number on the side of the book. U.S., Supreme Court, or LED is going to tell you which book you're talking about, and this is going to tell you what page number in that book you're going to. This right here is second edition because they made a first volume, second volume, third volume of this, and eventually they ran out of numbers. So they had to start over again at 1 with the second edition. They may even have had to start over again with a third edition by now, because I think this was in 1963. Finally, there's this number back here, and this is something special. There's a comma and then one more number, and what they're telling you there is that this case starts on page 589 of that book. But the information they want you to see, the special thing they wanted you to get, is actually on page 604. So find the case, it's on page 589. But if you want to find the thing they're talking about, it's on page 604. But the Supreme Court isn't the only one who gets reporters. This one right here, you can tell from the little logo here that this is another West product. These are federal reporters, and these are the ones that West thought were important enough on the federal circuit to publish into the Federal Reporter that year. But once again, it would say, if you were trying to find something in one of these books, it would say, there we are, 427 F.3D, because it's the third series, and then it would tell you the page number. And that's how you would find a court case in this book. And by the way, the library is just going to be full. A good legal library is just going to be just full of these books. And I don't have a picture and I'm running out of time, but there's also Maryland reporters and state reporters, all kinds of other reporters. It's always laid out like that. Volume number, reporter name, page number. That's it. You can find them. It's all up to you now. Go do it. Go forth and find.